Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Glad you could join us today for a Bible study. And today we're going to be looking in a couple of places. We're going to be looking in Psalms chapter 4, and then we're also going to look in Proverbs chapter 8 for just a minute. You know, I don't know what it's like at your house, but I'm starting to crave things that I didn't even think that I liked before. You know, things that before I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that. Now I'm like, man, I really want to do that or whatever. So, it's kind of twisting me around a little bit. I was telling the guys right before this that, I know we've joked about it, but I really am having a really hard time just remembering what day it is. I'm getting confused like several times every day about the day. And that's because we don't have those familiar things in life that kind of mark the days for us. And, so it's getting a little difficult. At home, it might be getting a little bit testy. People are kind of getting to the limits of their patience, or maybe you're already beyond the limits to your patience. But anyway, we're going to talk about that today, about how we react to things and what we can do during this time to try to not allow our anger to control us. There are a lot of things that, anger comes from fear. It comes from irritation. It comes from lack of sleep. It comes from all different kind of things. And we want to talk today in Psalms chapter 4. We're going to look at what the Bible says about when we become angry. It says in verse 3 of chapter 4, Psalm 4, it says, verse 3 says, know that the Lord has set apart the faithful for himself. The Lord will hear when I call to him. Be angry and do not sin. On your bed, reflect in your heart and be still. That even though there are times when we're irritated and there's part of us that wants to just release that anger and let it go, whether it's directed towards someone else or something, that when we do that, there are consequences to that, and that's what comes from wisdom. And that's where we're going to turn to Proverbs chapter 4 for just a minute. I know you're thinking, well, okay, I know the Bible says it's not wise to get mad, but what does that mean? Well, in the whole chapter of Proverbs 8 is talking about wisdom. In the very beginning, it says, doesn't wisdom call out? Doesn't understanding make her voice heard? And then this whole chapter is as though wisdom is speaking to us. And it says in verse 24, it says, I was brought forth, that's wisdom speaking, when there were no watery depths and no springs filled with water. I was brought forth before the mountains and hills were established, before he made the land, the fields, or the first soil on earth. I was there when he established the heavens, when he laid out the horizon on the surface of the ocean, when he placed the skies above, when the fountains of the ocean gushed forth, when he set a limit for the sea so that the waters would not violate his command, when he laid out the foundations of the earth. I was a skilled craftsman beside him. I was his delight every day, always rejoicing before him. So what does this tell us about wisdom? What is that verse about? Well, it talks about wisdom being part of creation. So how was wisdom part of creation? That when God created things, he didn't just create them, but he created them all to work together. He created mountains and hills. He created oceans, but he set limits or boundaries for where the ocean could go. All of that was because God could see, because of wisdom, of not only that what he was creating, what it was, but how it would impact other things. And that's what we need to do when we experience moments of anger and we have that tendency or that temptation to let that anger out, or the things that we say. Wisdom, and it comes through reflection a lot of time. That Bible verse in Psalm says to reflect on our anger, on what it means while we're on our bed. And that means that even though it may feel good for just a moment to let that out and release it, is that we need to understand through wisdom that when we do let that anger out, that it's going to cause other things. When we let that anger out towards someone else, or, we decide we're going to kick the wall and we kick a hole in it, that there are going to be consequences. When we let our anger out on a person, they're going to respond, or it's going to have an effect on them. And so what we want to do is the Bible says to be silent. There are all kinds of techniques we were taught, count to 10, go off by yourself for a while, whatever those things are. But you know what? In anger, the things that we don't say in those moments of anger can have a much greater impact on us and on the people around us than the things we do say. When we let that out, there are going to be consequences, and sometimes those are far-reaching. We say things in anger that maybe we didn't mean, or maybe we partly meant, or maybe we know at another point in time we shouldn't have said it all. And so wisdom is stepping back from that. It's taking a moment off and reflecting on it. Okay, maybe there is something that I need to say. Maybe there's a legitimate issue that I need to deal with. But if I do it in anger, there's going to be a consequence for that. So wisdom steps back and says, okay, is me letting out my anger, is that going to get the desired result? Or do I just need to sit down with someone and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's bothering me, and calmly explain that. Now, I get it, that all sounds good in theory. I mean, it's a whole other deal when, the steam's shooting out your ears or whatever else. But if you can discipline yourself to not say something in that moment, because that's probably the absolute worst time to say something. Unless somebody's life's in danger or, whatever, there's some kind of immediate reason why we need to stop something. That's the worst time to say something. What's better is if we can be quiet on that and reflect on it. And the bottom line is that the more we get in the habit of doing that, the more we're able to control our anger in the short term, and then the least amount of consequences that we're going to face as a result of letting our anger out. Okay, now, and back to Psalms, it says, offer sacrifices in righteousness and trust in the Lord. Many are saying, who can show us anything good? That's kind of where we're at, isn't it? Everywhere you turn, it's, well, what about the economy? Well, what about people getting sick? Well, what about this? What about that? It's almost all negative news. And then you have people that want to spin things for this reason, and they want to use this opportunity for that. And so, who can show us something good? Look on us with favor, Lord. You have put more joy in my heart than when they have when their grain and new wine abound. I will both lie down and sleep in peace, for you alone, Lord, make me live in safety. That's really the only place that we have to look and to find safety is in the Lord. And one of the things that anger is, it's a symptom of something else. I'm not saying that there aren't occasions where there is righteous anger, where our anger is correct. Even then, how we handle it and how we express it can either be sin or it can be done rightly. But a lot of times our anger is a symptom of something else. Like I said, it can be a symptom that we're afraid, that we're allowing fear to control us. It can be a symptom of something else. And so whenever we start to feel ourselves getting angry at small things, there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is not that, well, it's my kids that make me do it. It's because they keep blah, blah, blah. The reason that we're becoming impatient and the reason why that anger is welling up in us is because of something in our heart. And so when we begin to experience those moments where anger just gets freer and freer and it comes faster and faster, that's because of something in our hearts. And a lot of times it's because we're not really seeking safety in the Lord, is we're focused on other things. So I know this is a hard time for all of us, and we're spending time with people. First we're like, oh, I get to spend time with my family, and now we're like, oh, I'm having to spend some more time with my family. Hey, that's natural. I get that, or the people that are around you. But we need to be careful and not allow these moments to become something that are going to create, like for those of us who have kids, really bad memories down the road. And we want to make sure that we're not allowing our anger or our fear to control us during some of these times, because we don't want to leave memories with our kids. They're going to remember these times. This is a life marker for them. They're going to remember these days when this sickness came through this land and everything was shut down and we were all at home alone. How are they going to remember that? So we want to keep that in mind. What about our faith? How does the Lord going to view the way we behaved and the things that we did during this time? So, hey, I get it. It's hard. You can go up and down, not only within one day, but within an hour. You can go from feeling really good to really bad and everywhere in between in really short times. And to mitigate that, we need to be constantly reminding ourselves, hey, we need to be in control of our emotions. We need to be in control of our anger. We need to be in control of whatever emotions come through our heart. And we can do that by seeking, like it says there in the last part of Psalms, the one I read in Psalm 4, that our safety is only going to be found in Him. And that joy from Him, it's interesting. You can look around and think, well, they're having it easy during this time. But the Bible says that if we're seeking our safety in the Lord, that our joy will be greater than those who have better circumstances. But we have to constantly remind ourselves to seek our joy and to seek our safety in Him and in Him alone. So I hope maybe there were a couple things in there that will encourage you, maybe a couple of things you can use to diagnose sometimes when those symptoms of anger occur. And also, the Bible gives us prescription. Hey, when you're angry, lie on your bed and reflect on it. Think it through. Think in wisdom about what are going to be the consequences of me allowing my anger to come out. And I know sometimes we're like, well, I can't think right in that moment. Well, that's the time we need to say, all right, I need time out and go somewhere. Even if you had to go in the bathroom and shut the door and just think by yourself for a while, think about it before you let it out, because there are consequences when we let our anger out. So, look, I'm learning something new every day. It's not always something I want to learn, but it's something new every day. And that's one of the encouraging things to me, is knowing that no matter what day we come to, that God's already there, that He'll never leave us or forsake us. I know these days are difficult, but this is Easter week, and I look forward to spending time with you on Sunday. I'll be preaching live like we do every Sunday, and I hope that you can join us. Hope that you'll find ways to invite your friends to join us for worship too. And we're not trying to use this as a way to get people to come to our church afterwards. But if their church doesn't have an online service, they're welcome to join us during this time, and then after it's over, go back to their church family. That's what we would hope. But anyone's welcome to join us this Sunday. We'd love to see you then. And I pray that between now and then that God will be watching over you, and that you'll be looking for Him and seeking Him for your peace and for your safety. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.